All right. So, guys, we're going to be starting in the next 1 minute. I see attendance increasing by the second. And once we do start, I would request you guys to put in some notes, have a pen and paper ready, put in your question and answers on the chat box, and we will respond to all of that at the end of this financial planning webinar. All right, let's begin. And we will still have participants coming in. Thank you so much, everybody, for taking out some time. I know it's really late in India, but we have our two guest speakers over here, right from Rochester, New York, from Washington, D.C. We have Milaku, and Jake has come in from London. Just to give you an introduction and the format of this webinar, my name is Arjun Khosla. I am the Senior Enrollment Director here at HALT. I've been associated with HALT for the last 7 years in the education domain for close to a decade now. Most of you must have seen me during interviews. So hello, everybody. We have with us Ryan. Ryan, she represents Prodigy Finance, our close partners with us. We also have with us Milaku, who is from Empower Student Financing, and our global head of finance, Jake Carney, who is here to help us understand how finance works in. Now, what I was thinking on this webinar, this financial planning webinar, is to help all of you all understand how finances really happen at HALT, right? We have with us both Empower and Prodigy Finance, who grants student loans. They'll be walking you guys through the processes. And then finally, at the end of this webinar, we'll have an open round quick Q&A session where you can ask n number of questions. We'll of course have it under a time frame, but Jake will be there to also help you through understand if you have questions with Flywire, how funds are pushed onto HALT, anything in those lines. So without further ado, let me quickly give the stage to Ryan. Ryan from Prodigy Finance. Thank you so much, Ryan, for giving up some time today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, and thanks to everybody for being here. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Make sure that's coming through okay, Arjun?
Yes, it's there.
Okay, excellent. All right. So again, my name's Ryan, and I'm here with Prodigy Finance. My role is University Relations Manager. And that's part of my background. I've actually worked with international students for the last 13 years. I was at Duke University, the Fuqua School of Business prior to joining Prodigy, worked at UT Austin, University at Buffalo in my past life. So working with international students is a real passion of mine, and then especially creating this access to education for international students through funding. So I'm so thrilled to be with Prodigy and to be with all of you today. So the bottom line up front on Prodigy is that we offer loans for international graduate students. So graduate students only at this point. And we offer loans with no cosigner, no collateral, or in-country credit required. So we are essentially assessing and investing in student future potential. And just like with your academic programs, you want to make sure that you're doing your research when you're picking a loan provider. So that's why it's great that Prodigy is here, as well as Empower. You have other options in India as well. So you want to make sure you're doing your research and finding the best fit for you. And so I'm here just to share one of those options. I think it's really important to share Prodigy's background because it's so personal and kind of gets to our mission and why we're so passionate about what we do. Prodigy was actually founded by an international student from South Africa who was accepted to an MBA program at INSEAD, actually, which is in France, but unfortunately had to defer his admission because he was not able to find funding. It has a happy ending, though. He was eventually able to save up enough money to fund his degree. And while he was studying at INSEAD, he worked with professors and peers to build a borderless credit model that decreased the barriers to funding for international students, largely because of not requiring the cosigner or the collateral. And that data risk model that he created allows us now to fund students based on that future earning potential. We don't fund all students at all graduate programs across the globe. We only fund highly ranked programs and disciplines with demonstrated strong career outcomes, so that we know students are going to be successful and therefore able to pay back their loans. And so over the last 13 years as a growing company, we've been able to fund over 20,000 students from 133 different nationalities. So we're incredibly proud of our impact and the ability to help students access their dream academic programs, regardless of the cost or the location. So our mission, like I said, is the core driver for everything that we do. We believe that funding should not be a barrier to education. Talented students from anywhere around the globe should be able to access their program of choice. We're not a bank. We only offer one product and one service, and that's educational loans to help students fund their degrees abroad and achieve their potential. So I'm really excited to share this slide. We just started working with HALT this year. We dispersed our first group of students that started in the fall, and we've already supported 71 students across business programs. So that's really exciting for us. And for HALT, hopefully. And so here are a few more details about Prodigy's work with HALT students. So the average loan size is about 50,000, and the average rate is around 9.5%. The most funded program this first semester is the MS in International Business. So hopefully there are a few people here who are interested in that program. Okay, so the details of Prodigy's loan. I'm not going to go into all of the little nitty gritty details on this slide. This is all on our website. And in fact, everything that I'm going over today is on our website, as well as our application. But I just want to pull out a few highlights here. So again, our borderless lending model assesses you on your potential. Acceptance to a HALT program essentially acts as that cosigner, if you will. We know that if you have been accepted, you have real potential for success because you've been admitted and you're going to graduate from a top-notch program. Everything is done virtually from the exploration phase. So like I said, all of this information is on our website, to the application, to your repayment. I know something that we're going to talk about a little bit later is Flywire as a repayment platform. We do work with them very closely. So you have lots of different ways that you can repay, but it's all easy and it's all virtual. I also just want to call out that our administrative fee is assessed once on your total loan amount. So if you are offered $30,000, that's $1,500, and it can be rolled actually together into your total loan amount for $31,500, and that's what you're going to be repaying on. So it's not something that is continuously assessed. We make it very easy. And then I think it's really important to call out that repayment starts 6 months after graduation. So we call that a grace period. You have 6 months to get settled in your new job, get yourself set up before you have to start repaying. But you can actually make repayments before the end of your grace period if you'd like to, at no penalty. So let's say you complete your first year and maybe you get a job, maybe like an assistantship or something, and you feel like you can start paying back, or maybe a new scholarship. You can absolutely start repaying your loan while you're still in school. Okay, one of the biggest questions we get, what is the rate of interest? So this is just an example. The rate is variable and it's comprised of a fixed margin rate, which is uniquely assessed to you as a borrower and the individual. So that number here is an example, 8.2%. That is your unique number. And then we have a variable base rate. So right now we're using LIBOR as our base rate. And I think it's around 0.12%. However, if you've been following financial news, LIBOR is being phased out at the end of this year, and Prodigy's decided to replace it with SOFR. And I just checked the other day, the 180-day average for SOFR is at 0.05%. So in this example, your fixed rate margin would be 8.2%, and then we would add the base rate of SOFR at 0.05 for an 8.25% total interest rate. So yes, our rates are variable, but that variable component has remained pretty minimal consistently. So this is just an example from our website of both the administrative fee being rolled into the total loan amount, and then another example of the margin rate plus the base rate to get your total rate. Okay, so a few things to consider for Prodigy loans as we're kind of thinking about this as an option. So the minimum loan size that you would have to take from us is $15,000 a year. And the maximum loan size that we can offer you is 80% total cost of attendance. And cost of attendance is going to be your tuition, your fees, and then your cost of living. And we don't just make that number up. That's in collaboration with the school. I'm sure Jake has provided that information to us. So we don't just make up numbers for what we think the MBA program at Hult costs or the MS in international business. We make sure that we're working closely with the school and we have a very clear number of what you can expect for your total cost of attendance. So when we say 80% cost of attendance, let's say for ease of math, your cost of attendance is 100,000, we can offer you up to 80%. That doesn't mean you're going to be offered 80,000. Let's say Prodigy offers you $60,000 loan. What we're going to need to see is that you can come up with the extra 40,000 to get you to 100,000, because Prodigy wants to make sure that you're not in a tough situation where you have a shortfall of funds, you arrive to campus and you're struggling to come up with that extra 40,000. So we do need to see in your application that your entire budget is worked out. So you have a scholarship of 20,000, you have your Prodigy loan of 60,000, and then you have savings of 20,000, and that all adds up to 100,000 for your total cost of attendance. And then finally, since we're an education lender, it's important to us that we work closely with your school when we're dispersing loans. So all funds are sent directly to the financial aid office. They then take out the tuition and fees owed to them and then distribute back your cost of living funds to you as the borrower. That was a lot. Definitely going to be here to answer questions on all of those details too. So what documents are required in the application process? So you have everything listed here. I want to just highlight that our credit report, sometimes we hear from students that they don't have a credit report. That's okay. You don't need to have established credit. We just need to see a report that shows you don't have credit, essentially. I know that sounds a little funny, but we just need to have that. And there's actually guidance on our website if you're unsure how to obtain that. And then savings, scholarship, and salary. If you have that information, the more, the better. Like I said, you're going to have to show your budget. So if you have savings, absolutely include that in your application. Scholarships, we need to see that as well. And then it's helpful to see if you've already been earning a salary. It's really helpful to help us assess what is affordable to you as a borrower. Okay, so again, everything is done virtually. You start with our online application. For students that are starting programs in the fall of 2022, that application is going to open in early December, so about a month from now. Everything else, if you have a January intake, that's open already. So you can go online and start an application for a program starting in January or spring semester. You will then be offered a provisional offer. So that's going to give you a sense of how much we can actually lend to you. It's not the final amount, but that just helps you determine if you want to move forward with the verification process. And the verification process is where we collect all of those documents we just talked about. And eventually we're going to need your program acceptance letter. So we will not issue loans if we don't have that acceptance letter in hand. And that's how we finalize the loan. Once you've been finalized, you're matched to funding. Like I said, we're not a bank. We actually work with investors. We match you to that investment pool of funds. And once you're matched, we offer you a loan confirmation letter. This is the letter that you bring to your school to be issued an I-20 form that eventually helps you get your visa. So that's a really important document for visa issuance. Like I said, we disperse directly to your school. If you're in a 2-year program like an MBA, you would do a quick reapplication for your second year of studies, just so we can make sure that your financial situation hasn't changed dramatically. But you would have already received a letter that pre-approved you for those loans. And then again, repayment only 6 months after graduation. So if you're interested in what you're hearing and you want to learn more, you can go to our website and poke around and do that research that I talked about in the beginning. You can also talk to an ambassador who is a current Prodigy borrower or perhaps has just recently graduated. You can talk to them about their experience. You can also register your interest by setting up an account and then receiving updates and information about upcoming events. I would say this is actually really helpful for students who are interested in the fall, again, because our application doesn't open for about another month. So if you're looking for more information and want to stay engaged in that time, register on our website. So also on our website, you can check your eligibility criteria. My understanding is that everybody on the call today is from India, provided that at the time of your application, your residency is in India, you are eligible. You're planning on studying at a school we support, HALT, and you are an international student coming from India to the US, so you hit all of the criteria. So just because you're eligible doesn't mean you're guaranteed a loan, but at least means that you can start your application and get that process going. And so this is just another little screenshot from our website. In addition to the ambassadors that you can chat with, you can actually go and connect with peers who are in the same stage of the process as you, or maybe they had just started, like maybe it's a HALT student who had just started their studies this fall. And you can actually filter it down based on the information relevant to you. So if you are looking for other Indian students that are studying their MBA in the US, you can enter all of that information and it will populate a list of Prodigy borrowers that fit that criteria. So you can chat with them and get a little bit more information about their experience. And of course, you can always join our social media community through Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and we have some great blog posts and a really fantastic resource center on our website. I'll also call out that we work with 2 fantastic influencers. One is UDJ and the other is Parthvi. So 2 Indian influencers who studied in the US and are now giving back by providing tons of information. And Parth actually created a company called Gradical, and it is specifically for international students studying abroad and providing all of the resources required to do so. So really fantastic resource. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to stay around and answer some questions afterward, but after this session, if you're interested in learning more about Prodigy, you can contact us through email at our info@prodigyfinance.com account. You can call us. I know the number is small there, but it's also on our website. We also have a direct line for Indian students because we have a team in India. And you can access that number on our website. And then if you prefer to chat directly and instantaneously with our customer support team, you can log in once you register on our website and engage in that process as well. So thank you very much. And I look forward to answering some questions later.
Thank you so much, Ryan. It was really informative. Now we have with us Milaku from DC, who represents Empower. So Milaku, all over to you now.
Well, thank you so much. And without further ado, I just want to say that we do appreciate having the opportunity to speak to each and every one of you all. And likewise, if you do have questions, I'll be happy to answer them either towards the end of the call today, but feel free to reach out to us as well. Just bear with me 1 second, gonna pull up my slides. Let me actually present. And are you all seeing my screen currently?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Just want to hide this panel here. Okay. All righty. With that being said, just want to do a quick overview today. We'll be covering over a little bit about Empower, why we feel that Empower is the premier option for many of the international students that we see. We're going to provide the different ways that we are able to support each and every one of you. Then, as we mentioned, we'll conclude it with a Q&A. So we are very much aligned with a mission-driven focus. We believe that the last thing that an international student, especially a top student such as yourselves, should face would be a lack of funding in order for you to pursue that education. And so we have worked hard to be able to provide you with some ways to essentially get around that. So a couple of things about our team. We are, for the most part, an entirely international team. Our two co-founders, Manu Smaja and Mike Davis, are both graduates of INSEAD. And we share this international team just to share that we completely understand the journey that each and every one of you are going through now. And with that being said, we wanted to be able to support you throughout this entire process. So some of the common questions that we do get asked from students would either be centered around the fact that they've been admitted to a top school. However, they may not have access to funding. A lot of the hurdles that they do see, let's say back home in India, would be you're going to be required to provide some kind of cosigner. A lot of times they would share that they have to involve their family members with including some type of collateral or down payment. And so with us, we would essentially absolve that. So that's not a worry. And then on the other hand, we do have students that may ask, well, I'm able to get funding. However, the process is very cumbersome. And so that's a bit of a headache as you guys are making such an important process in your life. So again, we wish to provide a solution for that. So a quick overview as far as our loan, scholarships, and refinancing that I'll lightly touch on. So we have loans that you can get financed up to $100,000. This is going to cover any school-related costs. This is going to be able to cover your housing, health insurance, you name it. Aside from that, we do have scholarships and refinance that I'll touch on in the next screen. But going into our interest rates, they are fixed. These are fixed throughout the lifetime of the loan. So there are a couple of benefits there, either from consistent monthly payments, not having to worry about fluctuating or sort of market fluctuations that causes some different increases as well. We do provide interest rate discounts for you all that I'll be able to dive deep on. But more importantly, when you think of an international student such as yourself making this journey, you're probably going to reach out to either Empower or even Prodigy, possibly because of the fact that you may not have existing US credit history. And that's totally understandable. Now, with on-time, consistent monthly payments through this loan while you're in school and beyond, this will be able to build a US credit history. So for those of you that may be looking to stay in the country for some time and beyond, you'll have different access of different credit products such as credit cards, loan payments, housing, you name it, that many students do tell us that they find helpful. So when it comes to visa support letters, we do author those documents as well. So simply put, if whatever dollar amount of a loan that you get approved for, we will then provide you with that document that you'll take as you go throughout your visa process. Now, no prepayment penalty, of course, so you can pay off the loan as early as you like. Many students do find that helpful as well, because since the interest will accrue daily, simply put, the sooner you pay off the loan, the more money that you'll save in the long run. So two main criteria that we ask for students before they can apply would be to check for their eligibility. The first of which will be you'll be pursuing a degree program at Holt. Mind you, all degrees are accepted. And finally, we ask that you'll be within 2 years of graduation. Some of the common questions that we get about that aspect will be, what if I'm half-time? What if I'm part-time? Or any sort of variation of that? And the answer is, as long as you're going to be graduating within 2 years, that's perfectly fine. During the entry point of the application process, we'll ask you, can you show us proof of your anticipated graduation date? And that's that. So we are thankful for being voted by international students, the #1 international student loan option as far as this year. And that goes to show that we are honored to work with each and every one of you now and any day moving forward. So a couple of quick touch points why we understand that Empower is unique will be that it's better, easier, and cheaper. Now, as far as better, we want to highlight that there are no cosigner, no collateral, no guarantor, co-applicant, any of those examples that you see here. As I mentioned earlier, no restrictions on school expenses, degrees. And finally, we like to highlight what we call our Path to Success program. So we're able to offer you resume, career services, flexible payments, as we mentioned, as far as the building the US credit history, are just a few of the things that we want to help you leverage. Now, as far as easier, it's a completely online process. In fact, 2/3 of our applicants actually apply through their phones, so it's no hassle. And now 30 seconds is generally the timeline as far as you can check your quick eligibility, as I mentioned earlier, excuse me, as far as just making sure you're in a degree seeking program and making sure you're going to be within 2 years of graduation. Now, once you complete the completely online application process, usually you'll just have a quick number of days, usually 3 days, give or take, for us to give you an initial approval. Now, as far as the documents that you're required to upload, as I mentioned earlier, you can upload this directly from your phone. You can just take a screenshot if you don't already have it saved on your phone itself. And then the application portal, all documents, once a student applies, gets approved, their loan offer, their final loan documents, their visa support letter, all of that will be able to be accessed online as well. Going deeper into our fixed interest rates for an international graduate student. So each and every one of you that will be on this, that are either on this call now, will be listening to this maybe at a later date if it's recorded. It's going to be 11.99% fixed. That is to note before any interest rate reductions that we offer that anyone can take advantage of. I'll have a couple of examples that I'll highlight for you. And as far as our fees, there are none of these Forex upfront or application sort of fees that you may run across when you are exploring your different loan options. Now, similar, we do have a origination fee, which is 5% of the funded loan amount. That's not paid up front, that's just added to your loan amount, and you'll be able to make consistent monthly payments. And finally, the loan is in USD, so there's no sort of currency depreciation either. Now, as each and every one of you are exploring your options, we do like to kind of share why we feel that fixed interest rates are a great option for students. There's no risk on the student. It's completely taken care of by the lender ourselves, meaning there are no fluctuations in the interest rates, consistent, you know exactly what you'll be paying. And finally, as we mentioned, there are no sort of hidden fees or anything that you may run across unexpectedly. Now, touching on the interest rate reductions, for any student that signs up for AutoPay, this will be either a US bank account, we'll give you a 0.5 percentage point. Once a student makes 6 months on-time consistent payments, there will be an additional 0.5 percentage point that will be taking off from that 11.99%. And then finally, once you show us proof of graduation and full-time salaried employment, this full-time salaried employment can be anywhere in the world, that will unlock that third interest rate reduction. So in total, you'll have 1.5%. This is important to note that these are interest rate reductions will be for the entirety of your loan. So, and let's say, for example, you may not have a bank set up in time. You'll maybe want to make payments through Flywire, which we do accept as well. That's perfectly fine. At whatever point you do sign up for AutoPay, that's when that first interest rate will start to kick in. And they're not contingent upon each other. So if you just want to have the AutoPay first initial interest rate reduction, that's fine. If you're not going to be working a full-time salaried employment immediately upon graduation, yeah, that's fine. Please do take advantage of the other ones while you have the chance. I do always like to say that these are very real students as well, just showing you from many different universities, because their journey, such as yours, are all the same. We just are honestly filled with gratitude that we're able to see an impact. Honestly, you guys are the rock stars. You guys have been working so hard throughout the number of years. So we just want to see you do the best that you can, and wish you all the best. So our Empower Path to Success program, what we do is we want to provide you with a number of key areas. Firstly, will be visa and immigration support. So that's going to start off with our immigration support letter that we will author you, as I touched on earlier. More importantly, for situations or students that have a little bit more nuanced questions, want to dive in deeper, we do have certified immigration professionals on our staff as well. As I mentioned, we have credit building, which is a key thing. You know, I can't stress that enough, because that's sort of the entire reason why students found themselves here. And so we are happy to at least be able to help you in that aspect. Career prep and resume review. This is a beautiful thing that a lot of students have been finding helpful, starting with our HR team, as what they work in tandem with our Path to Success team. So we'll actually be able to sit down virtually with you all and say, hey, let's take a quick look at your resume. What are some tips and tricks? What are any type of feedback? Because at the end of the day, these are professionals within the industry. So it's a great insight for any of you that may be interested in leaning on their experience there. Job interview training as well. And finally, we like to call it assimilation support. So let's say you're making your journey from India into Holt and any one of the campuses. And let's say it could be as simple as you want to reach out to another Indian student just so you can help make that process, that acclimation process a little bit easier. Or you want to network with other similar degree-minded individuals, and we simply reach out and we help put you in touch. And those are just a number of things that we have. Again, if you have questions or if you have more details that you would love to hear, any of the things that I've covered over today is on our website. We have a great, what we call our commonly asked questions, or our FAQ, frequently asked questions. Please take a deep dive, but that's sort of that what I'll cover. Now, we also want to highlight, we have some awesome scholarships that we launched. For any of you that may already be familiar, if you've taken a quick look through our website, we have our Global Citizen Scholarship. That's our main flagship program, as well as our Women in STEM towards the bottom, and finally our monthly scholarships. So these you will see on a rolling basis. Actually, we just reopened the next application stage. $10,000 will be awarded to the first place winner, and then 2 runner-ups will receive $2,000, and the similar will apply. Women in STEM, $6,000 for the main winner, $2,000 and $1,000 respectively. And finally, our monthly scholarships as well, that many do find helpful. Just some additional funds that students are able to use. And just to kind of touch on before we kind of close out here, we want to make the process of this financing as easy as possible. So if you're having questions in your mind relating to, well, how am I going to handle the process of funds given to Holt? We take care of that. We work closely with your financial aid office. We disperse the funds straight to the school. There's nothing that you will actually have to take care of aside from just completing your application, handling all those documents. And more importantly, it sounds cheesy, but just continue to do great in school and beyond. But if you have any questions, definitely reach out to us. empower.me@empowerfinancing.com. That's the email that you'll want to contact us, or you can simply go to our website, empowerfinancing.com, and click on the Contact Us page. For those of you that wish to connect with someone live, we have our US or North America number +1 202 417 3800. And now we like to share that essentially we can provide email support and phone support for the most part around the clock. We have our US-based office here in the United States in DC, and we have our sister headquarters in Bangalore in India as well. So if you can't reach us during US times, you can definitely reach us a live person through email as well. But similarly, I just want to say I thank you all, and I just want to extend a huge thank you again to Holt for having us join.
Thank you so much, Milako. It was and Ryan, it was really interesting to understand how our students can benefit from either of these options. We have with us Jake from the Central Finance team. Thank you so much, Jake, for joining in for this call today. Now, I would ask everybody to put in their Q&A in the chat box or in the question round. I do have one question, and I will ask I think Jake to take this up. Jake, Rohit from India says Prodigy Finance should add HALT's dual degree program to the list of funded courses. Currently, the dual degree of HALT is not funded in Prodigy Finance. I'm going to HALT this fall, September 2022. So could you give your lights on that?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me as well. And Ryan and Milako, thank you so much for joining us today. As Arjun said, my name is Jake Craney. I work in the central finance team for HALT, and I've worked here for over 8 years. So it's exciting to be in these webinars and see all the partnerships that we've developed throughout the years and offered different financing options for our students. So I just wanted to thank both of them for joining. I've worked a lot on these partnerships, so it's just great to see our students benefiting and seeing all those numbers of students who finance their success. This first question, Ryan, you can jump in if you'd like, but I do just want to kind of take this from the HALT side. So Prodigy is a lender that we just started working with this year. One of their requirements is that we're in the top 100 rankings. I believe it's Financial Times. And that is a really prestigious thing. So I was on the phone or sending emails as soon as our rankings were updated. And this is the first year we're offering or working with them. So we really wanted to focus on those one-year programs, like the core program that we offer. We wanted to give access to students who are completing the one-year degree. I think dual degree is one of the coolest things about HALT. It's something that's an amazing program, but it is an additional financial investment in terms of time away from work and additional funding. Either, some students, you have varying levels that you need to pay for that. And then also there's living expenses while you're still studying. So we opted not to offer that for a dual degree right off the bat, but we do hear some students asking for that. So we're going to reassess that, and we'll be in touch with Prodigy if we decide to change that decision. We're a school that, if we see that it's going to benefit a ton of students and it can work, then we're totally open to that. But for now, we're still just offering it for the one-year programs.
Right. Ryan, would you want to add something to that?
I would just say that we're thrilled to be working with HALT and to see so many students were interested in our product already. And I think to see that and to, as Jake said, continue to get this information from students that are interested in another program being supported, we can definitely look into it now that we have one semester under our belts of working with HALT. So it's definitely on the table. I would say as you're doing your research, don't absolutely count on it just in case, but we will certainly look into it. And it's from great that you have another option right here just in case.
and from the enrollment side, Rohit, just coordinate with your enrollment advisor as well, because we have a couple of dual degree grants that we offer at HALT. So speak to your enrollment advisor and see if you're maintaining those timelines, if you can apply for those grants. I have a similar question for Milako. Rohit has sent in. Now, Milako, I know this is somewhat he's already applied for Empower. He says, I've applied on 24th of October with all my documents. It's been more than 5 business days. When can I hear back?
Sure thing. So I just took your name down, actually. So let me look into it. It could be for a number of reasons. Traditionally, it's an automated process. So assuming you upload your documents, it'll get sort of fast tracked. Either have some sort of feedback. If it's taking a little bit more than that, more than likely it may mean that there's some sort of clarification or additional documentation that you may need. But I do have your name down. Actually, I'm gonna, right after this webinar, gonna loop you in and get you in contact with your relationship manager. And similarly to anyone that may be having the same process, or for anyone who may experience that, feel free to reach out to us. We do wanna essentially hold your hand throughout this entire process.
Super. Thank you so much. Yes, Rohit, please do reach out. And as Milako said, he would connect you with your respective relationship manager. I've seen 2 more questions from him. Now, another one for Prodigy Finance. I'm sure that he's looking at both Prodigy and Empower, which is great since you both are here. So Ryan, he says, how does HALT's super early payment plan work if he's taking up a loan from Prodigy Finance? Now, super early for us means the entire tuition fee has to be paid or approved and sanctioned by HALT Finance by April 1st of next year for 2020. How does that help?
Yeah, Arjun, I can take this one as well. I think
Yeah.
basically what we do is when you have funding coming through a institution in the US, so there's a lot of special rules and regulations around that. So we have a whole department for all of the US private financing. If you are approved for a loan and it's before the deadline, we would count that payment in full because we know that those funds are guaranteed. So whenever a loan is approved with any basically US institution, someone from Holt in our finance team will have to certify that. And we'll basically have to say that we know that you're accepted, we know that you're actually going to come as a student. And so that's basically confirming back to the lender that you're actually going to come. So once that happens, it'll show up on your basically like your invoice or your summary of fees, like the payment schedule. And then that will count as part of your kind of total financing that's already sorted out. So it's just going to depend. I know this might actually depend a little bit on the next question about when can you start applying for fall 2022. But if you're approved and it's certified, we would totally count that. So it just depends on which lender you're going through. And if you have external financing that's dispersing directly to you, so if you had a loan or any other funding from a scholarship or a bank that's going directly to your account instead of Holt's, unfortunately, that's a little bit different. You're going to have those funds in hand and pay us like a normal payment. I hope that answers the question.
And coming back to the big question that Rohit has put in, when is the earliest that we can apply for Prodigy Finance for fall 2022? I know Milaku mentioned that you're going to open up in December, right? For Ryan said that.
The Prodigy, the Prodigy Fall 2022 application will open early December 7th. To be exact. So that is the earliest you can apply, and we are processing similar to Empower within 5 days. So the difference though is that we have this matching process. So let's say you apply on the 8th, you get all of your information in for the verification stage, you have your acceptance letter from Holt, you would then be matched within the next week. So you could very reasonably have your loan confirmation letter by December 15th. So I would say the only holdup, and it sounds like Jake is on this, and we will always work with the schools independently. We send certifications usually 90 days before a program starts. So if it's in April, we would have that information ahead of time, and we would make sure that it would get there so that you are making all of your deadlines. So yes, the short answer for you is application opens beginning of December. If you have everything ready to go, you can have your loan confirmation in hand within a week.
So 7th of December is just right after my birthday. Rohit, apply for that. Milaku, same question for you. When can students apply for September 2022 intake?
For September 22, you can apply up to a year in advance. And so as you heard throughout this call, you'll be able to essentially show us an admission letter, or if let's say you need some funding, you're already within Holt, we'll just ask for a transcript. But September or January, you can apply a year in advance. So you're in the clear, I believe, now for both. And if you do have questions on, let's say you have past funding, a little bit somewhat related, but you can apply for financing up to 180 days in the past as well.
Got it. Interesting. I have a question on the chat from Reena. She says, and this is open to either or, is there any possibility that the loan will be disapproved by for us, for the students? Is there a way that students might be rejected on loans?
Yeah, I can take it. So it's always a possibility. And from Prodigy's side, we collect all of that information so that we can assess your ability to afford a loan, essentially. So we want to make sure that we're not overly indebting you. So if you're carrying a lot of debt from your undergraduate experience, or you have a lot of credit cards out and it just doesn't seem like taking out another loan is going to be beneficial to you, we don't want to put you in that situation. So it might be that you're either not approved for a loan, or you're maybe downsized for the amount that you requested. And it all comes back to being a responsible lender. So we're not in the business of just giving out as much money or making as much money as possible. We are an education loan provider, and we hold true to that. So we're going to assess you as a student and your ability to afford this loan based on kind of the information that you provide to us.
Right. I think it's very interesting also, Reena, that even in India, no banks will provide you a loan if you have a bad credit history, right? So it's important, as I think more than fundamentals of being accepted to a business school, that to have the right credit history so that your lending can be approved as well. So if you've not defaulted payments, if you don't have multiple $1 trillion loans, I think in India, I think both Empower and Prodigy Finance should be good. I have 2-3 questions on the chat box. I'm quickly going to read this out, and feel free, one of you, to take this up. Even Jake, you can take this up. One question from Shrija. She says that one of the criteria that Empower mentioned in the candidates applying for loan, it has to be within 2 years of graduation. I have graduated 8 years ago, and she's currently working with the top company in India. So does that imply that she is not eligible for a loan by Empower?
Well, I would have to ask, what thing are you hoping to, what degree are you hoping to get financed? Is it, I'm guessing I would presume this is an existing, I would have to get some more details.
So she is looking at the global MBA program for HALT.
Yeah, Arjun, can I jump in real quick?
Yes.
I think that the clarification maybe is that you should be graduating within 2 years, or you have graduated less than 2 years ago. I think that maybe is the clarifying thing. If you're applying for the loan for your upcoming program, it doesn't really matter when you graduated from your last degree. You could have a big gap. I think that might clarify. Does that sound right?
Absolutely.
Yes. And plus she has she's also currently still working, so I'm sure her salary slip, her credit history is all good. In fact, I did take her interview today. All right, the next question from Sneha would be, does Prodigy Finance provide any scholarships for international students?
We're working on one right now. I don't have all the details, but we have in the past. And then unfortunately, because of COVID, we had to scale back our scholarship offering, but we did do a similar $10,000 scholarship competition, which was really fun. And we're hoping to launch that again. So I believe that this will be available to all of you who are interested for probably the fall, but not probably for January intakes, unfortunately.
And pulling you up, Ryan, to another question by Kushagra is there further possibility of reduction in the rate from Prodigy Finance based on credit score in India?
So kind of like what Malapu was talking about, the incentive reductions if you have a great, so I'd say yes, initially when you apply for your loan, all of that is factored in, but we don't have a similar program to Empower, unfortunately, where after you've already been offered your loan and that's confirmed, that we will continue to reduce based on some of those markers. So that's a really unique program to them, and it's fantastic, but it will be considered at the time of application. So if you have a fantastic credit report, then absolutely will be factored in to your overall interest rate.
Yeah, and Arjun, I just want to jump in as well and say that, you know, we try to present as many options as possible for you to fund your studies, and it's important for you to make that decision based on your own finances. So you have to you can look at both options and other options in India as well, and ultimately you should pick the option that is the cheapest for you or has the best terms for you. That's always going to be up to you. The only other thing I did want to mention about the scholarships bit, being in finance for so long and working with a bunch of great companies like Prodigy and Empower, I'm always on the lists of newsletters and reminders or whatever's happening. So if you're interested in any sort of career paths, or if you're in any organizations, or if you know any kind of education companies that you've been looking at while you're preparing for your master's degree, you should just ask everyone if they have scholarships or different funding you can apply for, because that's something that you will have the best view on. Like, there might be a scholarship that's just for people in your field or your background, or you might just have noticed something if you're on one of these newsletters and you can apply on time. So I just encourage you to take that upon yourself and search out all the different scholarships you could apply for. And if you ever need anything from Holt to prove that you're a student, you can just reach out to your enrollment advisor, and then they'll give you that information. So I would just recommend check Empower's website, check Prodigy's website. Always look out for those different scholarships whenever they might come up.
Thank you so much, Jake. And with the interest of time and everybody's busy schedule, I'll just take in one last question. It is an open-ended question. I'm assuming it will be for both of you because I think it's valuable for both. Sneha says, when will the interest amount start accumulating? Let's put it that way. We can start off with anyone.
Yep. So for Prodigy, it's when your loan is dispersed that will start accumulating.
Fair enough. And Milaku?
So it's going to be between 30 to 60 days post disbursement.
All right.
So the funds get to the school.
Perfect. So with that, I would like to firstly thank all three guest speakers today, Ryan, Milaku, and Jake. Thank you so much, guys, for taking out some time. I hope everybody in India have all their answers cleared. Please reach out to your enrollment advisors if you have any questions. Once again, as Jake mentioned, please make sure that you do your due research and take the best possible option for yourself. And have a safe Diwali. Happy Diwali to everybody back home in India. Thank you so much once again for being out here, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Arjun. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.